Well, what we're doing today is going to replace these stock handlebars on an 06 Dyna wide glide. I have not yet installed the newly painted gas tank, front fender and rear fender, along with the seats and the marker lights, directionals that go along with the with those parts. So while that was going on, I ordered a pair of bars, set of drag bars, and we're going to swap those out today. That includes the internal wiring for the handlebars, removing the controls on both sides, and also dealing with the elusive the elusive connectors that we've read a lot about on an online forum. You do not necessarily need to remove the tank to do this job, and so what really needs to be done is we need to access the wiring that runs up inside these handlebars, and you do that. It's not done back here under the seat. It's also not done below this little panel, inside of this little panel. It's done right inside the neck here of the bike. You will find on each side of the bike this little grommet. Alright, this grommet is split. Once this is off, you'll be able to pull all of this out of this area. As you can see, there is a little room to work here. You know, you've got a couple inches of wire here, and here are the disconnects. And what we'll go through is, I've already done a slight amount of disconnect, but we'll show you how to remove these pins out of this connector and out of this connector as well, so that when you're done, you'll just have free pins that can be pulled easily back through the bar after these controls are taken apart. It's not a really difficult job. You do not need to cut all of these and resolder them. That's not the way to go. All right. So let's get started, and we'll show you how to take this apart a little bit. Okay, we'll continue. Okay, let's start at this point here. If you have you need to access this area, you will need to loosen the tank bolts. Here's one of the bolts for the tank, the second back here. Alright, and you will need to at least pull the tank backward a little bit to get at this area right here. Okay. One thing you can do that might make things a little easier is to remove the clutch lever itself. That happens with removing these two bolts for this section here. I believe I've loosened this up already. Yeah. And we'll just take this clamp off for the clutch. A little blurry, hold a minute. Alright. I've already done some slight disassembly already, but figured for full example's sake we'd just redo it. So this should come right away. There we go. And let's pull it out of our way from this section here. Gently. You won't need to if you have at least on this particular installation, I've understood it to be that we do not need to change any cables. I don't need to change the clutch cable. I don't need to change the throttle cables or the brake cable. I don't need to change anything, in fact. So that's one of the reasons the decision was made for this particular bar as well. But we can let this just kind of let's make sure we're not going to make any contact back here. Just going to drop the clutch in there, and as you can see now, I have some reasonable freedom here. These two clips, right? These are this is directional, and control on this side, which is what is that? This is the directional light itself. This is for the light, And this block is for the actual finger controls on the handlebar. That's for the horn, the lights, and the left directional control. These two connectors are stuffed inside this frame hole, and what goes through the grommet here is just the wraps around this, and this goes through it as well. Alright, so that's really all you see. In removing that, just get this off, right, from this area, pull it off, and then extract from inside of here these two connectors. Alright, pull it all out, and as far as disconnecting them goes, this one here is a push type of clip, right? See that? Connects here. You push from the bottom and wiggle it out, and it will pop out. This one here is also a push clip, right? Push down and use two hands to separate, and it will come apart. All right, and we'll get started with how to remove the pins. It's much better to remove the pins from these than to cut these wires and then resolder them. That's all things considered, that's a poor decision. All right, while you may have good soldering skills and all of that, it is, regardless, it's a poor decision, because this is actually somewhat easy to do, and you don't have to cut into these wires. So let's get started with how to put that together. We'll continue. Alright, I hope we can see that within reason. We'll start with, why don't we start with this one, because it's a little bit more elusive. It's a waterproof connector. First thing we're going to do is actually remove this section here. You can take this away. It's a rubber grommet around the connector, the forward part of the connector. Just gently, with some forceps or something, get under here and be very gentle with it. Don't want to do damage to it. Just bring it off and remove it from the plug. Alright, once that's done, put that piece away safely, and from here, this actually comes straight out toward you. And let's see, a couple of things. You may be able to use a flathead screwdriver. Gently just walk it around, and it should pop out. There we go. Alright, if all has gone well, be gentle and just remove it like so. Alright, and what you'll end up with is something like that. Store that away, and you're good to go. Okay, from here, removing the pins is not difficult at all. One thing that should be done at this point, however, is something I'm not prepared. Oh, actually I am. I'm going to take a small notebook and mark the wires where they're going in to this connector, the colors and the wire on this connector. Alright, so in doing that, I'm going to do it from the back side and make a note of on this bike the colors that are going into this connector. Alright, I'm going to do that real quick. We'll come back. Okay. Again, these connectors pull from the back. Once you get it off, remember, remove this gasket, around this rubber gasket around the edge. Pull off that usually orange piece, just separate it a little bit, and here's how these actually remove from the back of the connector itself. Inside the connector, facing it, you've made a note already of your wiring, which wires go in which ports. Okay, they're also numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you should have this numbered in relation to the wires themselves. Alright, inside the connector, on the very inside, right down the center, you can see what look to be small plastic clips of the connector itself holding in the wires, and that's exactly what they are. We just slip I'm just using a small screwdriver, one of the ones you have laying around. Slip it in, push back the plastic retention clip, and then extract the wire from the connector. Let's see what we can get done here. Should just pull out the back, very gentle to pull it out. Carefully, as to not cause any grief. And there we go. Right. Okay. It certainly beats cutting these and soldering these. Don't want to really do that. At least I know I don't. I'm not interested in cutting these wires at all. Alright. Not for the sake of this. It's very simple. Alright. This rubber grommet in the back, you do want to be gentle with it. You can't pull it out until this job is done. Right? There we go. If it starts to pull the grommet away in the back, just be careful. Push it back in and look to walk that wire out of that seal without doing any damage to it. Take your time, and you'll have them all out in short order. We don't want this to come out. There we go. Okay. That's done. Alright. This connector is now free. As you can see, my wires are nice, intact, and when you put them back in, there's no direction per se. They grab onto this little part of the ring so that you don't have to worry about, do I line them up with this edge in or whatever. None of that. Just extract it, and you've made a note of where these wires go, so you do not need to worry about if they get a little twisted around and out of order. They're going to go back in according to what you've made a note, or again, if you've made a video, you're good to go. Do note, each of the pins is numbered. You can simply write down the numbers and the color code next to it. Don't have to necessarily draw the angles and this and that, but I do it all. So this will actually pull back. I'm going to use a tape it up, and this will pull back through the handlebars very easily. Certainly better than cutting the job. Store this in a safe place, and we're on to the next part of the job.